guarantee.
A collision with an asteroid 5 or 6 miles wide would grill the Earth like a Texas barbecue. An asteroid that size could carve out a crater nearly 100 miles wide and 14 miles deep. All hell would break loose, literally.
Rock that was about 6 miles across come plummeting out of the skies at about 7 miles per second. It would hit the Earth with the explosive impact of 100 trillion tons of TNT, pretty much the equivalent of giving every man, woman, and child on Earth a little Hiroshima-sized bomb of their own to set off.
The explosion would eject a mammoth column of flaming rock and debris into the atmosphere, blotting out the sun.
That's still only the beginning of the damage, because when that hit, it would send up this gigantic plume of fiery ash and rock that would go up into space. Some of it would spread back out and descend back on the globe, covering much of the globe with literally burning fiery ash falling from the skies, setting fire to everything that it touched. It's almost inconceivable that a human race could possibly survive under those circumstances.
These aren't just theoretical calculations from the tip of an egghead's pen. We know what will happen because it already has happened. Our planet is no stranger to cosmic intruders. 65 million years ago, a 6-mile-wide asteroid slammed into Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. The impact wiped out 75% of life on Earth, including the de facto kings of that world, the dinosaurs.
You'd feel like you'd been shoved into a broiler oven with a broiler on. If you were outside like we are now, you'd be broiled alive in a very short period of time. So this is probably what killed the dinosaurs. They're large creatures, they had nowhere to hide. They were probably broiled alive.
At 6 miles across, the asteroid that turned the dinos into fossil fuels was pretty massive. But it wouldn't take one that large to send humanity packing.
A little more than a half a mile. Doesn't sound like much compared with the size of the Earth. But if something about a half a mile across hits the Earth, at the energies we know that they're bringing, it can create global climactic catastrophe.
Although we haven't found the big one yet, odds are there's an asteroid racing through the cosmos right now with Earth's name emblazoned on it. But no one has written the handbook that tells us what to do.
And if you look at the history of government response to major disasters, it's a pretty checkered record. Hurricane Katrina is certainly a great example of that. People knew that the levees were too weak, and yet, in spite of all the yelling and screaming that those few individuals did, no one in government did anything about it. Now, if that's the case with an asteroid, we can lose a whole country. We can lose, many, many more people. Katrina will look like a drop in the bucket compared with an asteroid impact.
Luckily, there are some people who aren't willing to let the human race go the way of the dinosaurs. In 2002, a group of scientists, astronauts, and engineers came together with the goal of giving asteroids the respect they deserve. They founded the B612 Foundation, named for the asteroid in the children's story The Little Prince. And although over 5,000 near-Earth objects have been identified and tracked so far, the question is, what happens next?
So we formed the foundation in order to ensure that techniques for deflecting an asteroid are developed and demonstrated. We're interested in making sure that we have the capability to deflect asteroids and to protect life on Earth.
In reality, is there anything we can do to avert an impending asteroid strike? When it comes to saving the planet, no idea is off the table, but some may be better than others.
In the movies, you just send up Bruce Willis with a bunch of guys and they, bore a hole in one of these things and blow it up. That's, in general, not a good idea because you just turn this big rock into a bunch of buckshot, and now you got a lot of rocks from space to worry about instead of one big one. It's easier to deal with one big one. You could just bolt a rocket motor to the side of one of these things. and just slowly push it away, that might work.
And if it doesn't, maybe another idea called the gravity tractor will. Over 300 years ago, Sir Isaac Newton determined that all bodies with mass attract each other. That law is the basis for the gravity tractor plan. It calls for one spacecraft to smash into the asteroid and begin the initial change of direction. Then, the combined mass of several other spacecraft pull the asteroid off course.
If you deflect something early enough in its trajectory, then the path of deviation, in a way, it sort of accumulates. If you push it sideways early enough, then that path just slowly diverges from a collision point with Earth.
With no serious collision threats expected in the near future, astrophysicists should have some time to work out the kinks in the gravity tractor. But then again, maybe not.
Remember, the dinosaur scenario with a giant asteroid is only one situation. And on a much smaller scale, roughly every 1,000 years or so, we know that a small asteroid, maybe only a few meters wide, will come in and blow up over the Earth. And that would be more than enough to destroy a city.
And if you've got somebody throwing baseballs at your head, for example, which is a metaphor for this, and you've got your eyes open, you're going to want to duck. So we're going to have to be making decisions in the next 10 or 15 years.
So when will the next cosmic cannonball head our way? Scientists have determined we'll dodge the asteroid Apofis by a mere 18,600 miles. Sounds like a big number until you consider it's a distance below some of Earth's own satellites. But with hundreds of thousands of near-Earth objects out there somewhere, it's likely one will eventually send evolution back to the drawing board.
Maybe doomsday, at least on a limited scale, can be a good thing. And the obvious example is 65 million years ago. Now, if that rocket arrived 20 minutes later, it would have missed the Earth, and you wouldn't be watching this, right? I mean, there'd be dinosaurs wherever you live, okay?
If the human race is going to bite the dust, a deep impact scenario would be an appropriately dramatic Hollywood ending. But it may not take a fiery asteroid to trigger the end of days. If we don't get a handle on global warming, we could be headed for a very inconvenient apocalypse.